This is why if I'm not expecting nobody, I'm not opening that door. So there's this woman who lives in the rural Midwest in a house right off the highway. Her house was right in between two towns, basically on the county line, and they had a big circle driveway. If you drove into the driveway, you would be headed straight towards their barn. But if you curved to the right, you would be heading to their garage. And if you go past the garage, you could circle back around in front of the house and come back to where you started. They had two large double doors in the front of the house, but they said they hardly used them. They mainly used the door in the garage, which is pretty normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody always used the back door, the side door. Like, nobody really be using the front doors. I mean, I guess some people use the front doors, but I don't know. Out in the country where I'm from, everybody use their back door and their side door. So one night, it's super late. She, her husband, and her 3-year-old are all asleep when the doorbell rings. It wakes her up, and she thought she was dreaming at first, but then she hears it again. So she wakes her husband up and tells him that somebody rang the doorbell, and he's like, are you sure? Like, I didn't hear anything. You sure you're not hearing things? And then it rings again. So she says it's really dark outside, but they have dusk till dawn lights, so most of the driveway is lit up. Now, I ain't know what no dusk till dawn light was. I ain't never heard of that. But apparently it's a light where, like, when the sun is going down, the light cuts on, and then, like, when the sun is rising, the lights cut back off, which I think is pretty convenient. That's pretty dope. Do I ever see one of them? I don't know. We just always got the porch light on. She says, unfortunately, you can't really see at the front door, though, unless you actually open it up. She said you can't open one door at a time, or you can lift, like, the latch that's at the top and the bottom and open both doors at the same time. Now, y'all got dusk till dawn lights. Y'all ain't got no damn Ring doorbell, a peephole. I don't know, like, the only option is to open the door. I feel like y'all should put some other options in place. Maybe the Ring cameras won't have been in yet. I don't know. She did say this was like 10 years ago. But I know y'all got a damn peephole. Y'all got double doors. Y'all gotta have a peephole. A window by the door, something. So husband gets up and she follows. He decides he's gonna open the door. Why? Why? She's like, she wanna call the cops, but she knows that because they live on a county line, it's gonna take them a long time to get there. I don't give a damn how long it takes them to get there. Whoever's out there can wait till they get here. Because I'm not opening that door. I'm not opening that door. I got my 3-year-old in here. It's this late at night. We not expecting nobody. We can't even see. We ain't got no peephole. I'm not opening that damn door. But husband opens the door. So there's a girl standing out there. She looks like she's in her 20s. And they said she looks normal, except for the fact that she's standing at their door in the middle of the damn night. So she looks past the girl and sees that there's a car pulled up kind of like in the driveway right off of the road. Not up in the driveway, not around the circle, like not up to the house, but just like right off of the road. I'm not gonna lie, I had a really hard time picturing this driveway layout. Like I don't really understand it. Maybe if somebody else feel like they can understand what a driveway look like, draw a picture of it and put it in the comments for me. So shorty at the door is like, can I use y'all phone? Because my car battery died or something. I don't know, but I can't get it to start. So husband says, fuck no, and shuts the door. No, I'm kidding. That's not what he said. I wish that's what he would have said, but he didn't. But the wife is like, this is how horror movies start. What we can do is call the police for you. The girl keeps asking, just let me use the phone. Like, can I just come in and use your phone? Like, that's all I want to do. But wife is like, no, you're not coming in. Sorry. Not sorry, actually. They tell her, look, we're going to call the cops for you. That's that on that. And the girl, like, storms off the porch. So they watch her walk back to her car. They can see the girl. They can see the car. They call the police. The police are like, all right, like, give us like 15 minutes. They don't sound that concerned. And the wife said, honestly, she wasn't that concerned either. She was like, it's just a girl. Like, she probably do got a dead battery, but I ain't finna let her in this house to find out. Like, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't be like, I'm sorry you got a dead battery, but you gonna have to sit in that car with that dead battery. We gonna call the folks for you, though. So the girl then opens the trunk of her car and no lights come on. So it does indicate that her car battery is dead. And she's rummaging around the trunk. Then the driver's side door opens and out steps a guy. Then the back passenger door opens and out steps another guy. Upon seeing this, I would have looked at my husband and say, now what the hell you open that goddamn door for? Because for what? What you open that door for? And what they doing out there? And why she didn't tell us it was 2 other people in the car with her? Suspicious. So now all 3 of them are like rummaging through the trunk. Shorty says she can't hear what they're saying. She can't see what they're doing. They just like in the trunk and then they all get back in the car. So at this point, 5 minutes have gone by and she hoping that the sheriff just kind of hurries up. But she knows it's probably going to be about another 10 minutes before they get there. She said they're still in the car, like not moving. She can't really see in the car, but there's no light on in the car or anything. And like, there's nothing going on. She says she knows that they're sitting in the car and haven't gotten out of the car and like walked up to the house or anything, because they would have had to walk right under the dusk till dawn lights, and she definitely would have saw them. She says she thinks she sees the driver like light a cigarette in the car, but she's not 100% sure. And then she sees someone walking towards the car from the direction of the barn. It's a man. She doesn't know who he is. She said they don't have any neighbors, and he's coming from the back of their property, which has a creek. He walks under the dusk till dawn lights and goes straight to the car. Doesn't even look at the house. And he gets in the back. Woo. I don't know if they got that thing on them in that house, but I would have had that thing ready for whatever. Because at this point, what y'all doing out there? Because what you doing in my backyard? What was you going to find back there to start the car? And get this. He gets in the car starts, and they drive off. Now I thought the damn car was dead. I thought the car was dead. I almost believed that her battery was dead. No, I didn't. I never believed that. But the lady in the story almost believed it. So the cops arrive about 10 minutes later, and they don't find nothing. I mean, what could they find? Like, I guess they go to look and see like if he had broken into anything, but I guess they don't find anything. And he like, well, we don't see nothing. Call us if they come back, I guess. How about you spend a night outside? How about that? Patrol, do a little patrol. Just do a little stakeout, if you would be so kind. But husband goes into the shop, which is apparently on their property, and gets his pew-pew, and they try to go back to sleep. I would be so unrested. I wouldn't be getting a lick of sleep. Not a lick. My eyes would burn from how long I would keep them open laying in that bed. But folks never came back. They don't know who they was. They don't know what they wanted. I don't give a damn who they was or what they wanted. Crazy business. Y'all stay safe out there.
My late husband left me specific instructions to follow after he died. Welcome back to Creepy Crochet and Creepy Pasta. Let's get into today's scary story. I cried so much in the morgue parking lot, I had to put on a sweatshirt to cover up my tear-soaked top. Inside, the medical examiner had me identify my husband. He said they were having difficulty determining the cause of death. After that, I collected his belongings. Most I expected: his wallet, watch, cell phone. Then there was the unexpected: an envelope with my name written on it. My husband always had the handwriting of a kindergartner, but even this seemed like he wrote it in a hurry. Back in the parking lot, I read that letter over and over. 100 times, memorized it. The last correspondence my husband left was 3 instructions. It went like this: when I return, play along. Sure enough, the next afternoon, as I was covering the couch in tissues, my front door unlocked. In entered the spitting image of my husband. I wanted to believe the morgue. Identifying his body was just a nightmare, that this was real. I wanted it to be real so bad, but it wasn't. And I didn't let on at all that I thought so. I ran to my husband and hugged him. He even smelled like him. He embraced me and held my neck how I liked and said, "I'm home," the same as he always did. "You've been crying? Oh baby, let me make it all better. How about I make your favorite food?" And into the kitchen he went. He was just out of sight when I heard the pop of a wine bottle, just like I expected. 2. You can eat what he makes, but don't drink anything. I watched him make my husband's chicken cutlet recipe with the bucatini.
Bucatini.
I watched him make my husband's chicken cutlet recipe with the bucatini and the red sauce. He even knew about my fresh basil on the porch. He poured us each a big glass and set our plates down. I spun the noodles on my fork and ate. It was his recipe. Then the first crack in the armor. This thing that looked like my husband was shoveling noodles into his mouth, chewing mouth wide open like an animal. My husband would never do that. You haven't touched your wine. I'm just not in the mood for it. Ah. He got up and walked over to the counter. I saw his hand slowly inching towards the knife block. And here comes the part I've been dreading. 3. You have to trust me. He's going to try to kill you. Let him. I have a confession to make, he said, chef knife in hand, walking right up to me. One of his hands was on the back of my neck. The other held the point of the knife, just kissing my stomach. I was so afraid. I tried to push the fear away. In my head, I keep thinking, I trust you, I trust you. He made me look at him. I'm the one who left that letter on your husband.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be the last home healthcare video that I'll be making. I have to double check my book, but around that time I was always writing things down whenever they happen, but I'll have to double check and let you know. So let's get into it. So around this time, I was packing a bag about, 3 days, sometimes even 2 weeks, and I'll be going to these clients' houses. I was working for this home healthcare company. And so I packed the bag for the 24th, 25th, and 26th of December, and I was at this woman's house. Now, I had already been to her house months before. I had been there consistently for months, and nothing ever happened in her house. So here we are. This is a small house. We're up in the living room and we're dancing. She likes to dance. And so we're up there dancing, having a ball. And I noticed a lot of new decoration. I'm like, oh, you've been decorating? She's like, yeah, the other girl, whenever she's on shift, she helps me decorate. I'm like, cool. The doorbell rings. I go to the doorbell. I said, go to the door. I go to the door. I opened the door and it was my coworker, the woman that she was just talking about. And she brought this chair. And I'm like, you brought a chair? She was like, yeah, it's adding to our decoration. This is something that we like doing together. I'm like, okay, cool. That was sweet. So she brings the chair in. When she brought the chair in, she set it all the way at the end of the hall. And it had this painting that was over it. So I'm like, okay, that's sweet. So we continue our stuff. The lady leaves. We continue dancing. And then the woman wants to get in bed. So I put her in bed. Fast forward to after I put her in bed, I put the motion sensors down just in case she gets up. So the motion sensors started going crazy. And I looked at the camera and she's laying in bed. She's knocked out. So finally I stand up, and when I stand up to go check and peek my head around the corner, there's this dark figure sitting in the chair that my coworker had just brought into the house. Can't make out if it's a man or a woman just yet, but it was a very dark figure, and I heard stomping, but it didn't sound like feet. And then I look over and it has like this cane in its hand, just stomping it on the ground, on the floor. So finally I get up, I run over to my duffel bag, and I get my Bible out, and I get to praying. And it's just sitting there looking at me like, and I said, so you just not gonna go? Like, you just not gonna leave? So then once I started to get aggravated and I started to really be really forceful with the words from the Bible, that's when it stood up and it walked into the bathroom, and then it walked back out. But when it walked back out the bathroom, it did this high jump in the air. Like, okay, what was that about? After it did that little high jump, that weird thing, it disappeared from in front of me. But I heard the motion sensor, so I walked over to the camera. And when I walked over to the camera, I see his face. Yes, it was a he in the camera, and he's pointing at my client. So, of course, I'm aggravated. I go back there and I flick the lights on. I didn't care if she was asleep. I was just worried because I know you ain't here for her. Not right now. Not right now. So then fast forward, I played it off to the woman like, oh, do you have to use the bathroom? I'm so sorry that I flicked the light on like that. And so she's like, oh, no, I'm okay. So she lays back down. Once I go back out to the living room, I get to praying. I get to drawing crosses over all the doors, over all the windows. But next thing you know, I feel something walk behind me. And when I felt it, I turned around and he's right here in my face, like right here in my face. I almost dropped to the floor, y'all, but I couldn't do it because then he'd be thinking that he had one up on me. So that entire night, he would just randomly pop up in my face. He would randomly pop up on the sofa, or he would be sitting in that chair that my coworker brought. Now, this is the scariest part. The scariest part is the fact that right after he left up out of my client's room, I could hear her gasping for air like she needed me. And so I ran in there and I sat her up on the edge of the bed and I'm like, are you okay? And she said that she said, I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready to go. Now, all this time, she's never talked like this. And so I'm just like, you ain't got to go yet if you don't want to. I think what made me more nervous about it is the fact that it was a dark figure that came to collect her. At that point, I was just like, do you want to pray with me? We had never prayed together before, but in that moment, she wanted to pray. So we prayed, right? So fast forward to while we're praying, he just sat down. Like, I wait. So I think that scared me too, because what has this woman done in her life that is so terrible to have a dark figure come to collect her and take her somewhere, and not even a prayer can stop it, can stop her from going with him. Now, here's the even scarier part. I got a feeling to look outside. So I went ahead and I looked out the window. And when I looked out the window, there were two other dark figures standing on the sidewalk. That scared the crap out of me because I know y'all better just be here for her. So I hear knocking on the door. Of course, I'm not answering it because I just looked out the window. I saw y'all out there. I'm not opening the door. And so the woman, she starts getting hysterical and she is like really going crazy. I'd never seen her like this before. And so do y'all know, like, probably not even 24 hours after I left, that woman passed away. She passed away. And in my head, I felt so bad. But in my head, I was thinking like, oh my God, this family gonna think I'm the Grim Reaper.
Something in a national park in the American South that is causing serious harm to people, and they're blaming it on the bears. This came from a woman who wanted to remain anonymous. She says that she and her husband were camping Memorial Day weekend this year, so this just happened, allegedly. And whatever this was, they're not sure, but because of the NDA that her husband was forced to sign by park rangers, she says she's not sharing the location, but thinks that people should know about this. So she says she and her husband and their friend were all out camping. And on the second day of the trip, the friend's wife called from home and she needed him to come home for whatever reason, but he left earlier than he was supposed to. And on his way out of the park, he called the couple that was still camping and he said, I just saw something really weird. I saw a goat looking creature that seemed to be eating what appeared to be a body. And he's like, I was driving fast. It probably wasn't a body. It was probably like a deer or like some kind of animal. I don't know what it was, but I don't know what was eating it. And so they're like, okay, well, we know that bears are in this area. And so this woman's husband decided that he was going to go investigate before they called authorities. I guess the logic was that they didn't want to just call the authorities if it was a deer or something else being eaten. But either way, they knew that there were bears in this area, but this man was very clear on the phone that what he saw was not a bear. She says her husband drove down the road that their friend had left on, and he comes across a dark spot in the gravel that appears to be a liquid that looked like something had been dragged from the road into the brush. And so he parked his truck, he got out, and he started following this trail. But almost immediately after stepping out of his truck, he was hit by something unseen, and it knocked him out cold. He did not see anything, but he hit his head on the floorboard of the truck on his way down. When he came back to his senses, he looked around and didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, and he jumped back in the truck and headed back to camp. And I guess the wife who sent this story, she said she was sitting at their campsite with another couple who they had sort of been hanging out with as they camped, and they just saw him come flying down the road. She also noted that the couple that they were with had a dog who had been on edge the entire previous night, but that they all had just assumed that it was because the dog was in an unfamiliar place. But as her husband approached, he jumped out of the truck, and she said she could see the fear in his eyes as he told her what happened. It was starting to get dark out, and she said that they didn't feel comfortable camping there again, and so they just decided to get out of there and go get a hotel for the night, and they were going to come back in the morning to grab the rest of their things. But as they pulled down the road to leave this area, she said that they sensed that something was running through the brush alongside with their vehicle, though they never saw what it was. In the morning, she says her husband went back because she was too afraid to go back, and he was just going to retrieve their coolers and their tents. And when he got back to the campsite, their tent was completely shredded, and the couple that had been camping next to them was also traumatized because they woke up and all of their things had been strewn all about the campsite. One of their kayaks was in a tree. It had not stormed, and so they had already called the park rangers, and the park rangers came to the site as he was there grabbing the coolers and packing up the truck, and they were trying to get everyone to sign an NDA, and he said, I'm not going to sign an NDA. Apparently, though, that week, someone came to his job and forced him to sign it. I don't know all of the details about that, but he did end up signing an NDA at some point during the week when they tracked him down at his job. He said that he's fine now. He did have a concussion, but no lasting effects. And she wanted to emphasize that in case whoever made him sign the NDA is watching this, he did not break it and she did not sign anything. Apparently, she said that they told him that if anyone asked about what happened, to say that it was a bear, and that if he did not comply with that, bad things would happen. She also said, for what it's worth, her husband, as well as the friend that they were camping with who left early, are both military. And she found out that there was a body found just 2 miles from where her husband was attacked. What attacked him, she's still not sure. Said she sent this in to warn people to be careful, especially if you're camping in an area in the southern US. And if you have any thoughts as to what this possibly could have been, let us know. We would love to hear it.
I just watched a video about a girl talking about what it was like growing up in a haunted house, and it brought back so many memories of what it was like when I grew up in my haunted house, and I want to tell y'all about it. So I want to start off by telling y'all about the time my mom was doing laundry. My mom was doing laundry in her room. My room was the most haunted room in that house, okay? And let me tell y'all why. My mom was doing laundry, and she would bring my laundry into my room to hang it up. She would hang it up, go back to her room, fold some more, bring it into my room. And about the second or third time she was coming back to my room to put my laundry up, she noticed that she couldn't open the door. And she didn't even remember closing the door. The door was closed, so she's like, okay, whatever. She tries opening it, and she can't open it. So she pushes harder, and she sees that I had like this big box of books in my room, and whatever the fuck was in my room pushed that box of books in front of my door so my mom could not get in. Over time, we also noticed that like we had a whole bunch of chihuahuas. We had like 4 or 5 chihuahuas in our house, right? And these chihuahuas would never go in my room, ever. They followed my mom everywhere. Anytime she walked into my room, they just standed by the front door. And my mom was like, that's so weird, right? So she grabs a hot dog, and she's like feeding it to the dogs, and they're like, oh, jumping around trying to eat these hot dogs. And my mom was like, okay, they love hot dogs. So she took it to my room, and she gets the hot dogs, and she's like, come in here. She has the hot dogs. She's like, come in. And the dogs are like at my door, and they're like, arr, 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 arr. They would not come in my room for that hot dog. Okay, and this is the part that fucked me up the most, okay, guys? The new Bratz movie just came out. This is early 2000s. I remember it like it was yesterday. The new Bratz movie came out, and my dad had a laptop. This is probably the first laptop ever made, okay? And I'm watching it in my room. I'm sitting on my bed with the laptop on my bed, and I'm watching the new Bratz movie, okay? On the screen, mind you, Bratz is still playing in the background. A black shadow shows up in my screen. And I'm going to show y'all what that black shadow did. I'm not exaggerating, guys. I'm literally not exaggerating. Mind you, it had the silhouette of a man, right? It was a full black shadow. So I couldn't see facial features or anything like that, but it was a man, okay? Not a woman. I run out of my room, and I go to my dad, and I'm like scared. I'm fucking shaking. I'm shaking right now while I'm telling this story, okay? I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, there was a fucking shadow in my movie. So my dad gets the laptop and rewinds the movie to like where I said the shadow was jumping around, and the shadow wasn't there. You know how hard it is to be a kid and know that there's fucking ghost in your house and your parents keep gaslighting you? They're like, dude, quit fucking tripping. Like, there's no such thing as ghosts, blah, blah. I'm like, bitch, yes, there is. Another very scary situation, okay? We went to McDonald's one day, right? And I got a little toy in my McDonald's bag. I think it was McDonald's. And the toy is like you could squirt water out of it. It was like a water squirt toy. It was like this big, right? It's nighttime. We had a full day. Got McDonald's, whatever. I had my toy in my room that I got from McDonald's that day. Okay, I'm laying in bed, trying to go to sleep, and all of a sudden, I feel water splash on me. Okay? Get up, look around, it's pitch black in my room, oh my god, I'm getting goosebumps. Ah! Something splashed water on me. Okay? I run out of my room. I'm like, Mom, something just splashed water on me. And my mom again is like, Ashley, you're tripping. Go back to bed. And I'm like, Mom, I swear to God. When I grew up, I had this same conversation with my mom. I was like telling her, like, Mom, I was not tripping. Something actually fucking splashed water on me in that room. And she was like, yeah, it was funny because when you turned around and walked back to your room after I yelled at you and told you to go back to your room, when you turned around to walk away, I saw water all down your back. And she was like, holy shit, something actually did splash water all over Ashley, right? Another time, I was laying in my room and I could hear ghosts, okay? It sounded like there was like at least 10 ghosts around me, around my bed, and they're all going, ooh, ooh, ah! I'm getting goosebumps. There's like 10 of them at once, right? And I refused to open my eyes. I was just like, stop, go away. I was, at this point, I was getting angry at the ghost, right? Because they were fucking with me every night. And I was like, stop, go away, leave me alone, right? And I finally opened my eyes, and I see, it's pitch black in my room. Dude, guys, I'm getting fucking goosebumps. I see 2 green eyes. 2 green eyes, and they look like cat eyes. They have like slits in them, just looking at me. If you remember my nymphomaniac story, right? This was during all of that, when my mom was getting fucked by random men on every single night, right? So imagine you're a kid and you're being haunted by ghosts on a nightly basis, and you can hear your mom getting her cheeks clapped. And you go to your mom's room and you're like, Mom, the ghosts are fucking with me. And you can just hear, Ashley, go away, go to bed. It's like, dude, Mom, please stop getting fucked. I am getting haunted. I'm scared. Another time, I'm laying in my bed, right? And to this day, I keep my feet covered with fucking blankets, right? I refuse to sleep with my feet out. Because one time I was sleeping in my bed and my feet were out of the blankets, okay? And I could feel something breathing on my toe. It's like on my big toe. Okay, last story. It was early in the morning. I was getting ready for school, and my mom kept my socks in her top drawer in her room. So I was going to her room. I opened the top drawer to grab some socks, and the curtain in her window, right? Something behind it started punching the back of it. Okay, like this. I could see the curtain like moving as if someone's punching from behind it, right? And I'm like, oh my God, like it's my brother, right? Immediate thought is like, my brother's behind there, like fucking with me. I look down at the bottom of the curtain. There's no feet. There was no feet. So I take off running to my mom. Dude, I'm getting so many goosebumps. The ghost fucked with me, okay? Ghosts are real. I don't care what no one says. Anyways, this is just a story from that house alone, okay? When I grew up, I started playing the Ouija board a lot, and I have a whole bunch of haunted stories about the Ouija board too. But that is just from that house alone. That house was so fucking haunted. Anyway, I'm going to post a picture of it right here, actually. Okay, here's the house in 2007. This is when I actively lived here. This is it. It's just a clearer photo, but this is the house in 2013. I clearly don't live here anymore. And this is the house now. But this motherfucker is haunted.
Let's read another scary story. Hey Krista, I've been following you on TikTok for a while now, and even though I have a few spooky stories, including one with proof, I wanted to submit this one because it happened about 5 hours ago. I'm typing this at 11:20 p.m., and it keeps replaying in my mind. I apologize if some things don't make perfect sense. I'm still processing it and probably missing details. This happened while I was at work. I'm a part-time cleaner in a fairly secure building. When I say secure, I mean there are multiple cameras every meter, you need to do a security fob to access different areas, and you even need permission to enter the car park. That's relevant. I work 3.5 hours a day there, and I was nearly finished with my shift. I was mopping the lobby floor. For context, the entrance doors make a very distinct sound, heavy, mechanical, and possible to mistake for anything else. I was crouched under the stairs, mopping, when I heard the entrance door open. I looked up and saw no one. I kept working, but watched the doors from the corner of my eye. Then I heard footsteps, like someone wearing heavy work boots. I looked up to say hi, but again, no one was there. As I looked up, I saw something on the TV mounted on the wall. It's at least a 42-inch screen that sits about 6 feet off the ground. I'm 5'4", and when I clean under it, there's still about 6 to 8 inches of clearance above my head. The shadow, or whatever it was, appeared near the top of the screen, around 8 feet up or more. It didn't look like a normal shadow. It was more like the energy had been drained from that section of the dark screen. It had the shape of a head, neck, and shoulders. It disappeared as quickly as it appeared. I kept listening to the footsteps, trying to follow the sound with my eyes. Nothing. No shadow, no movement, just the sound. Then I heard the footsteps on the stairs. I could actually feel the vibration of each step against my back as I crouched there. At that point, I was uncomfortable, but I just wanted to finish and go home. After mopping, I went outside to dump the dirty water. I noticed the car park gate was jammed open, like it had tried to close, but something stopped it. While I was outside throwing away my rubbish bags, I swear I heard something walking behind me on the gravel. When I turned around, I was completely alone. I ran back inside. There was absolutely no way I was staying outside in the dark with whatever was going on. I went to the control room to tell the staff the gate was open and that I'd heard someone come in but hadn't seen anyone. They looked at each other and told me they had seen the entrance door open by itself on the cameras. Creepy. I told them I'd been under the stairs when the door opened and thought I'd imagined it. I didn't mention the footsteps or the shadow. It's only my second week and I didn't want to seem strange. No one has mentioned anything spooky before, so I didn't want to sound crazy. I went upstairs to gather my equipment before leaving. Important detail, all corridor and bathroom lights are motion activated, and no one had been upstairs for over an hour. No lights should have been on. But when I got upstairs, every corridor light was on. At this point, I was beyond spooked, but if I reacted, I would have burst into tears, so I just carried on. Then I needed to use the bathroom. The second I opened the door, it felt like the weight of the world dropped on my shoulders. I became overwhelmingly tired, so exhausted I could barely keep my eyes open. I checked the time, 6:35 p.m. I still had 25 minutes left. I used the bathroom, washed my hands, and checked the time again because something felt wrong. 6:55 p.m. I'd lost 20 minutes, or at least it felt like I had. It's hard to judge time when you feel like you might fall asleep standing up. That was it for me. I grabbed my things and left. I'm not getting paid enough to be haunted. When I got to my car, I had this overwhelming urge to check it. I turned on my phone flashlight and checked the back seat, the boot, everything. Nothing was there. I got in, started the engine, and instead of my usual music, the radio was tuned to a station discussing paranormal encounters. I turned it off immediately and drove home in silence, using my headphones instead. I made it home safely, but I've never felt so drained in my life. I've had worse experiences. I worked night in a hospital for 3 years, but something about tonight has unsettled me so deeply that I'm literally shaking as I type this. Thank you so much, Bex, for sending this in. This is crazy. I think there are so many layers to this that I don't even know how to unpack. Just the fact, too, that the gate had opened around the same time that you were seeing the shadow, so they were clearly two correlated events, and then all the corridor lights being on, even though they're motion censored and nobody had been up there. Oh my gosh, that's so scary. And I agree with you. I'm glad you got out of there because I don't know how much money I'd have to be paid to have to stay and work in a haunted place like that. That's no thanks.
I need to tell you guys this ghost story. This story was sent into my email, and if you have any ghost stories, scary stories, or paranormal encounters that you want to share, you can send them to the email in my bio. My family refuses to talk about whatever happened in that house. And after hearing this, you'll understand why. This happened when I was around 7 or 8 years old, back when my family had just moved into a house in New South Wales, Australia. It was a 2-story place. The bottom level was just a garage, and everything else, the bedrooms, the living space, it was all upstairs. At first, everything was normal. It was quiet and peaceful and nothing felt off. Until my baby sister's 2nd birthday. We had family over. Everyone was celebrating, and at some point, my cousin pulled me aside and brought me into my room. She had this piece of cardboard with her covered in letters. I recognized it immediately. It was a Ouija board. I told her that I didn't want to mess with it. I'd seen enough videos to know that it was a bad idea. She threatened to tell my mom that I made it and forced her to play. So I gave in. We sat there, both of us, our fingers on it. At first I thought she was moving it, but she kept swearing that she wasn't. And the thing is it was moving. So we asked it who we were talking to, and it spelled out the name of our aunt who had recently passed away. At first we were so happy. We thought somehow we were talking to her again, but then it changed. The tone shifted. It started saying things, mean things, angry things, things I knew my aunt would never say. That's when it hit us. Whatever we were talking to, it wasn't her. We stopped immediately and left the room, pretending like nothing had happened. We didn't tell anyone, but we were terrified. Because not only had we contacted something, it had lied to us. A couple of nights later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard something. My wardrobe doors sliding open and closed, slowly, back and forth. They had mirrors on them. So when I looked over, I saw a reflection. At the end of my bed was a figure, tall, too tall. It had to hunch just to fit into my room, and it was staring directly at me. I didn't even think. I just got up and ran straight to my parents' room. I woke my dad up, panicked, but he just tried to calm me down. He set up a laptop and told me to watch something until I fell back to sleep. So I sat there trying to distract myself, and then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, steady, walking through the house. At first, I thought it was one of my siblings, but they were all asleep. I got up and peeked out of the doorway. Nothing. But the footsteps didn't stop. They moved across the floor. And then the stairs started creaking, like something was walking up them, one step at a time. I didn't even try to watch the movie after that. I just climbed into bed with my parents and stayed there. The next day, after school, I was in my older sister's room while she was doing my makeup. My baby sister walked in, but then my mom called her, so she left the room. And right after she walked out, we heard it, a loud stomp. And then a deep, guttural growl. My baby sister started screaming. She ran straight to my mom, crying and shaking. We thought maybe my brothers were messing with her, but they were in their room, and they were just as confused as we were. That night, I went into the bathroom. The door was one of those sliding ones, and I never locked it because I was scared of getting stuck. But when I tried to leave, the door wouldn't move at all. I started banging on it, screaming, panicking, until my dad came and opened it from the outside. The door wasn't locked. It wasn't broken. It just wouldn't open. A week later, my uncle and aunt came to stay over. They slept in my room, and I stayed with my older sister. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I kept the TV on, playing random videos just to have noise. And eventually, I fell asleep. The next morning, my uncle told my mom that he saw something during the night, standing in the doorway. He described it as a very tall, dark figure. Freakishly tall, he said. My little brother overheard and told us, and my stomach dropped, because that's exactly what I had seen. Later that day, my mom sat all of us down. She had found the Ouija board, and she wanted to tell us something. Almost every night, my baby sister had been waking up crying, saying someone was in her room. But one night, it got worse. My mom was holding her, trying to calm her down, and something grabbed her hand, tried to pull my baby sister away from her. My mom held on tighter, but it kept pulling harder, almost ripping her out of her arms, until my mom finally got a better grip and held her close, and right in her face, something growled. After that, my mom refused to talk about it ever again. We ended up blessing the house, blessing ourselves, and not long after that, we moved, an hour away, and we never went back. But the scariest part was, according to them, it didn't stay in that house. It followed. And now, it's starting to mimic people.
Hi, I grew up in a haunted house, so I thought it was time for me to finally share some of the experiences I've had and just like what it was like growing up in a haunted house. Obviously, if you don't believe in the paranormal, then don't watch this video, because what I experienced was very real and it affected me and my family very deeply. To begin, I truly believe that I brought something into my home because of the Ouija board, and I want to create this video so I can spread knowledge that this is not a game. The Ouija board is very real, and it caused a lot of issues for me and my family when I played it. And now I started playing it when I was in the 3rd grade. It was introduced as a game. It was sold at Target. I would play it at my friend's house. My mom never allowed it in the house, but because we weren't supposed to do it, we would do it at other friends' houses. And I played this all throughout my childhood, talked to a lot of entities, at least from what we thought. And it all kind of flipped a switch when I was in middle school. So this particular time we played was during a time when a family friend of ours had committed, he had passed away. And so we wanted to speak to him, and we thought we were speaking to him. We would ask it questions. He would, from what we thought it was him when we were talking to him. Whoever was on the other side of the board knew every single personal thing that nobody else would know. And to give you context, when we were playing, it was my friends and we had our hands on the board, and then my friend's aunt, who was the adult supervising, she would ask the board the questions, and it would be answers that none of us knew. Only she would know because she was very close to this person. And it felt like we were speaking to him. So we continued on, and then we were like, okay, we're going to go to dinner. We'll come back and talk later. So we closed out the board, went out to dinner, came back, and we opened the board up to speak again. And when we opened the board back up, the room felt completely different. The energy was different. When you would ask it questions, the way it moved was different. Like, overall, I think everybody kind of felt like we were no longer talking to this family friend that we thought we were talking to. And so, but we continued to ask it the similar questions to kind of test whatever we were talking to. And it would come up with some very scary answers. I can't remember specifically because like I'm 27 now. I was like 12 when this happened. I just can't remember exactly what was said, but I just remember the answers we were getting was very dark. And I distinctively remember it had said this one thing that really scared us, and we were like, we're closing the board out, goodbye, do not want to talk to you again. And after this happened, that's when everything kind of unfolded. I can't remember if it was the same night or like a few days later, but I had come home late night to my home, and I was on the phone with my friend at night, and it was probably like 3 a.m, and I was in my room, and I went to the bathroom. And when I came back, my bed was pulled into the middle of the room. To give you context, my bed was one of those beds that was like kind of high up off the ground, and it had 6 drawers to fill clothes. So it was very heavy, real wood bed. And then there was a bunch of clothes in there, and I had carpet at the time. And to pull this bed, like, it was hundreds of pounds, this bed. So there was no way. Nobody was in the room. Nobody was awake. Everybody was asleep in my home. And immediately when I walked in and saw my bed in the middle of the room, my gut knew that something was wrong, and this was like a paranormal thing. The energy had shifted in my room. It was like almost like colder temperature wise. I know a lot of people say that, but it really was like the temperature was different in my room. It felt icky. I hung up with my friend. I immediately went into my parents' room, and I was terrified. I was absolutely dumbfounded, could not explain it. And my parents came in my room, and they couldn't explain it. I remember my dad was trying to push my bed back, and he was like, he's very skeptical. He never believed in ghosts. I don't think he's a very logical man. And so he was trying to come up with all these reasons to why this could have happened and asking me questions. And I was like, I swear I did not move this bed. And my mom just instinctively was like, let's pray. And we prayed. And I remember I ended up sleeping in my parents' bedroom that night. But after that night, a lot of things started happening in my house. And it was gradual, like years would go on and certain things would happen year after year. And it wasn't until I moved out of the house and I was like, I definitely brought something into this home, and it was really hard to get rid of. This video is getting really long, so I'll probably break this up into multiple parts, but if you want to hear more stories, let me know. I really wanted to create this video as a cautionary tale against the Ouija board to please be careful and to just watch out because you really don't know what you're talking to.